Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 3rd overall spot, using Sleeper. The roster positions for today's mock are to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, a kicker, defense, and 5 bench spots. But before we could get on into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 3rd overall spot using Sleeper. Now, I am going to make the 2 first picks of the draft for the computer being Ja'Marr Chase as well as Bijan Robinson. I believe that is going to be the first 2 picks in a majority of drafts. Now, obviously, in some drafts, Bijan might go 1 and Ja'Marr Chase might end up going 2, but typically that's going to be the 1-2 punch to start off the draft. Now, in my opinion, if you're sitting on the clock here at 3rd overall and Ja'Marr Chase or Bijan Robinson are available, you would instantly pick them. There is not even much of a discussion about that. At the 103, there definitely is a discussion because there are multiple players you could select at this pick. You could go Saquon Barkley, you could go Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, or CeeDee Lamb. To me, I have them ranked Saquon, Gibbs, Lamb, then Justin Jefferson. So if I'm up at the 103, I will go with Saquon Barkley. I think that this is the classic case of just overthinking things this season. Everyone saw what Saquon Barkley did last season. Everyone saw how lethal of a rushing attack the Philadelphia Eagles have, how great Saquon and this offense were able to maneuver. They got all the way to the Super Bowl and beat the shit out of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. This is an offense that is going to be great again, and yet everyone is trying to completely overthink things, make every single argument possible against Saquon Barkley because he can't possibly see that high amount of touches again. He can't possibly score that many touchdowns again. The Madden curse, the Grim Reaper is going to show up at his doorstep and take his ACL for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That must be what people are thinking because so many people are scared of Saquon Barkley. If you are scared of Saquon Barkley, you don't want to do it, you feel like he's a little bit more risky, then go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I am fine taking Jahmyr Gibbs at the 103, but I'm going to take Saquon Barkley. I am not going to overthink things again. And if you are up at this spot and Bijan or Ja'Marr Chase somehow fall into your hands because your league mates were doing a bunch of opium before the draft, then you just got gifted a amazing piece. But to me, I'm going to go ahead and take Saquon Barkley here. After Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian McCaffrey, Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Drizzy Drake London, Brock Bowers, Bucky Irving, AJ Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Lamar Jackson, and we are up on the clock right now. Since this is a 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spot draft, I am not enamored, super in love with drafting Josh Allen here. If this was a 10-team league with this setup, I would be, but in a 12-team league, I definitely don't think you have to take Josh Allen here. Now, I try to make these mock drafts interesting, right? And I try to switch things up every single draft, try to do things a little bit different, but I would find it close to impossible if I was at the 103, if Chase Brown fell to me, not to take him. Like, I really like Ladd McConkey. What he did in the first half of the season versus the second half, it's night and day. The second half of the season was fantastic. I don't think Keenan Allen joining the team is going to sink the metaphorical battleship of Ladd McConkey. I think he's going to have a huge season. I really like Tyreek Hill this year. I think it's fine if you wanted to take Josh Allen in this spot. I'm a big fan of Kyren Williams. I know some news just came out about how they're looking to split the load a little bit more. Pause. They said the same shit last year. It didn't work. Sean McVay loves Kyren Williams. I love Kyren Williams as well, but I think it is close to impossible to avoid Chase Brown at this pick. It's crazy that he's still ranked at 27 outside of the 2nd round in fantasy drafts right now. Chase Brown is one of the safest bets you can take out inside of the 2nd round, and he is a guy that I've been clicking on a ton, and I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Again, I try to make these drafts as different as possible, but again, when you have such a strong value, when I have such strong conviction on a player, I find it very hard not to take him. Now, if you are in a bunch of leagues, right, if you're in 5 different leagues, I probably wouldn't take Chase Brown here 5 times strictly just because, even though I do really believe in him, if he was to get hurt, then you are just bending 5 teams over the table where your second round pick ends up getting hurt. But treating this just like one individual draft, I would definitely want Chase Brown on my team there. I feel way better about Chase Brown compared to Jonathan Taylor, and I think in a vacuum, Jonathan Taylor's a significantly better running back. It's just the situation in Cincinnati. All of the coach speak has been nothing short of fantastic for Chase Brown. After Chase Brown, we see Jonathan Taylor, I almost said Justin Jefferson, Josh Allen, T. Higgins, and Kyren Williams. Now, this is a question I get all the time. Nick, can you draft Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the same team? Can you draft T. Higgins and Chase Brown on the same team? In my opinion, the answer to that is yes. If they are on a great team, not necessarily a great team, I guess a great offense, like the Bengals, it's fine. If they were on a shitty offense that you don't project to be very good, then I definitely wouldn't want to be spending 2 of my first 5 picks on 2 guys that are on a team offensively that I don't have a lot of confidence in. So Ladd McConkey does end up falling to us at the 3.3, and we are going to take him here. Now, if you're like, Nick, it's impossible for Ladd McConkey to fall to this range in my home league, then just take Tyreek Hill instead. I get there are definitely question marks with Tyreek Hill. I get that Tyreek Hill is probably one of the riskiest assets going inside of the early 3rd round, but to me, the upside heavily outweighs the risk. I really think that Tyreek Hill has a chance to finish as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. I get this could be a crash and burn scenario. I get that maybe the Dolphins just as a team implode. It's a disaster. Mike McDaniel gets fired in week 7, but I don't honestly think that's going to happen. I think Tyreek Hill is going to put up a huge year, but we will go with Ladd McConkey because he fell to us and because I think it is possible that this could happen in your home league. I don't think Ladd McConkey is like a stone cold lock 2nd round pick. So we're going to go ahead and get Ladd. So we have 2 running backs that I believe could easily be top 5, top 3 running backs at the end of the season. And we have Ladd McConkey, who I think if the targets really do go his way, he could definitely finish as a top 8, top 5-ish wide receiver. After Ladd McConkey, Tyreek Hill, Trey McBride, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Jalen, stop, it hurts, Maserati Marv, Joe Shiesty, Breece Hall, James Cook. The 4th round opens with Jaden Stormy Daniels, George Kittle, Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara, Terry McLaurin, Chuba Hubbard, Mike Evans, and DK Metcalf. So right here is probably where, if you wanted to go triple running back in the first 4 rounds, you wanted to get TreVeyon Henderson. If you want TreVeyon Henderson, this is where I am picking him. I am not going to play the guessing game here because this team 1, probably going to end up taking 2 running backs at minimum 1. Team 2 probably wouldn't take a running back, but TreVeyon Henderson is getting the Sukalamink special, the Dick Suckaroo, the Gawk Gawk 9000 from every single fantasy analyst out there. Everyone loves TreVeyon Henderson. I do too, but his ADP is going to keep on climbing. I don't think it's going to hit the 3rd round, if I'm being completely honest with you. In a majority of leagues, I don't think that we are too close to the start of the season to most fantasy drafts being this weekend or on Monday. I don't think his ADP can rise that quickly, but he definitely would have to be picked here if you wanted him. To me, the pick here would be Davante Adams. If Davante Adams was not available, I would have went with Courtland Sutton or DK Metcalf, who's gone, so we wouldn't have been able to go with DK Metcalf. So if Davante Adams was there, I would have went with Courtland Sutton, potentially just taken George Pickens there, or TreVeyon Henderson and went triple running back off the rip. But we have done that in the draft recently, so we will just take the wide receiver here. Davante Adams is a guy that I get, right? The LA Rams have Puka Nacua, and Puka Nacua is a guy that a lot of people have confidence in, right? That's why he goes in the 1st round, why he's typically a top 10 pick in fantasy drafts, because people feel safe clicking on Puka Nacua. Back-to-back years putting up very high points per game numbers. Matthew Stafford very reliably, heavily targets Puka Nacua, but Davante Adams, now people are scared. Oh, how much is he going to get targeted? Even if he isn't the target hog in this offense, which I don't expect him to be, he has big touchdown upside in an offense that, if Stafford stays healthy, I believe will be amazing. I think Davante Adams has all the upside to finish inside the top 12. Now, people might want me to talk about Rashee Rice, so we are going to talk about him real quick. Initially, we thought there was going to be no suspension. And then a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, at this point, we learned that, hey, Rashee Rice is going to get suspended, but it's not going to be to start off the season. He's going to play the first 4 games and then get schmackarooed with a suspension in the middle of the season, and then he would return. And that really scared me because you get the points early on in the season, then he's gone mid-season, and he comes back and he's probably going to be a little bit rusty. Now, I think he is going to return and be rusty, but after a 6-game suspension, there's a lot of time before your fantasy football playoffs. There's a lot of time for him to adapt before the games truly matter, right? If you don't have him for 6 weeks, it definitely hurts. It really does, but he will be available for you in the fantasy football playoffs. I still find it very hard, though, to in the 4th or the 5th round, especially in this spot, like at the 6-1, sure, I would understand it, right? But at the 4-10 or the 5-3, I find it very hard to draft a guy that you know is going to miss the first 6 games of the season. That's a significant margin. And again, I get the fantasy playoffs is the most important, but you have to get to the fantasy playoffs. And when Rashee Rice comes back, sure, you can start him, right? You can start him the game he comes back, which will be up against the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, that's a kind of an easy matchup in my opinion. So maybe he ends up going absolutely nuclear, but he's coming off of the suspension. He's going to be rusty, and I think that could severely impact his projection for that week. And he's not a guy that, sure, I would put him in my lineup, but I think expecting him to go crazy, drop a 20 bomb, drop his nuts in the Raiders defense's mouth, I just would not expect that. After Devontae Adams, James Conner, Sam Laporta, Rashee Rice, Pat Mahomes. See, I just could not do that with the 5th pick here. I definitely would have taken a running back if I was team number 1 with Travion Henderson available, Isaiah Pacheco. Guys, I feel very confident in Tony Pollard quickly moving up my rankings. If you guys want access to my rankings, full PPR, half PPR, cheat sheet, and positional rankings available down in the video description on Patreon, $12.50 a month. So we are up on the clock here. We got our 2 running backs, so we don't need to go running back. In terms of tight ends, to me, once the big 3 at tight end are gone, I am not even looking at the tight end position right here. Sure, I like Laporta, who already went. I like Hawkinson. I like Kelsey. I like Andrews. I like Evan Ingram. I like David Njoku. But why take one here when we could potentially get one in the 8th round later at a much bigger discount? At quarterback, I kind of feel the same way, right? Once Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jaden Stormy Daniels are gone, I don't feel like reaching and taking a quarterback in this range, a guy like Patrick Mahomes. So we're just going to keep on clicking the wide receiver and running back button. DJ Moore's a guy that has been falling in fantasy drafts, and while I don't necessarily see the wide receiver 1 ability of DJ Moore to become the wide receiver 1 because of how hyped Rome Odunze has gotten, I think at some point we just have to understand that DJ Moore is an unk. He's an older piece in this offense that has earned the right to be the wide receiver 1. And if Ben Johnson is all that everyone makes him up to be, then DJ Moore has the opportunity to be a top 10, top 12 wide receiver. We've seen it out of him. I think he has the ability to do it. He's getting touches on the red zone, out of the backfield. So I think DJ Moore is going to be really good this season. But it does feel gross with how much hype Rome Odunze is getting, which is why I typically pass up on him for a guy like Cortland Sutton or DK Metcalf, who typically goes after him. But if you wanted DJ Moore here, I see nothing wrong with it. I do think he's going to end up being relatively safe this season, but I don't know if he's going to really crack that humongous season. Lou Gehrig knocked that bitch out the park as like the wide receiver 1, whereas I could see Cortland Sutton doing that in Denver based upon how much he was being targeted in preseason, how much he was being targeted down the stretch of last season, and based upon how confident I am in Bo Nix in this Sean Payton offense. So after Cortland Sutton, wiki, DJ Moore, David Montgomery, Travion Henderson, Xavier Worthy, Zay Flowers, Travis Kelce, Mr. Swift himself, Isaiah Pacheco, Jameson Williams, Devontae Smith. The 6th round opens with Travis Hunter, RJ Harvey, Aaron Jones, Baker Mayfield, George Pickens, TJ Hawkinson, Tet McMillan, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle, as well as Calvin Ridley. Now, we did just get some news that Mr. Chris Godwin, I almost called him Calvin Johnson, which would not be, that'd be Mr. Megatron. Mr. Chris Godwin is potentially going to return in week 2. Yeah, you think that's going to happen? Now, I know it's possible, right? And I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, so I won't say I guarantee, I do declare, like my name was Michael Scott, that Chris Godwin is not going to play until like week 5. But I think it's very, very hopeful. There's a lot of hopium in assuming he's going to be back in week 2. And all of the fantasy doctors that I've read on the Twitter sphere are telling me that it's probably going to not be week number 2. So I still feel very, very good about Emeka Egbuka. Now, we're going to go ahead and get Tony Pollard. I was pretty off of Tony Pollard in the fantasy football offseason early on because there were so many positive reports about Tajay Spears and about how last year this wants to be a 1A, 1B offense, but it doesn't end up working because Tajay Spears keeps getting banged up, right? But now Tajay Spears is healthy going into the season. He's going to take potentially a lot more of the touches away from Tony Pollard, so I'd rather just say give the stiff arm to Tony Pollard and say, you know what, I'll just take Tajay Spears a couple rounds later, because I like the burst Tajay Spears has. But now Tajay Spears has been put on the IR, missing the first 4 games of the season at least. And that puts Tony Pollard into the driver's seat of this offense. And while I don't think Tony Pollard is necessarily the most explosive back I've ever seen, he's been productive over the last 3 seasons. And I think the Titans are going to be better with Cam Ward. They're going to get more opportunities inside the red zone for a guy like Tony Pollard. And once Tajay Spears comes back, it's far from a guarantee that he becomes the 1B, and he kind of might just become the 2, more of an afterthought. So I like Tony Pollard a ton now, where I previously didn't like him. And that's why the fantasy football offseason is so interesting, because one small thing happens, a small injury in the scheme of things, right? Tajay Spears, when you're thinking about all the injuries that could possibly happen, it's a blip in the big magnitude that is the NFL. But in terms of fantasy football, Tajay Spears getting hurt is significant, in my opinion, because it really does pump up the value of Tony Pollard after TP, Mark Andrews, Jerry Jeudy, as well as Chris Olave. Before we make this next pick, though, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description, you receive your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as getting my rankings, my draft guide sent to your email the very next day after you sign up. I get an email about 10 a.m. and I send the draft guides out to those of you that sign up on Underdog. You have to make sure that you deposit at least $10, as well as enter at least one contest. And if you don't know what Underdog is, it's the best place to play best ball fantasy football in the world. You're like, Nick, what's best ball? It's the best part about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, there's no trades, there's no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. Their biggest contest, Best Ball Mania, $25 to enter, $15 million in total prizes, $2 million to first, $1 million to second place, $100K to the regular season winner. They also have a smaller contest called the Puppy, $5 to enter, $100,000 first place. Make sure you guys check that out, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. And if you just want my rankings, you are already on Underdog, or you don't want to sign up to Underdog, you can check out the Patreon, link in the video description, for $12.50 a month. So back on the clock here, we filled out our whole starting roster. So this might be the spot where you want to jump on a tight end, might be a spot where some of you might want to jump on a quarterback, and I'd be fine taking Evan Ingram here or Bo Nix. I'm a big fan of both of those guys. Or we could just keep going wide receiver, right? We could just keep adding that safety net to the wide receiver position. And I think, based on who's available, that would be a pretty smart move. Now, a couple of teams still don't have a tight end or a quarterback, so it's not a guarantee that one of them flies back to us, but I think David Njoku could come back to us here at the 8-10, so I'm not going to just reach here, and I'm fine waiting on quarterback and tight end. So we're just going to get Rome Odunze. We talked about him when we were talking about DJ Moore. Every single thing that comes out the mouth of Ben Johnson is literally just loving Rome Odunze. Oh my gosh, this guy can run every route imaginable. He is a piece that I never had in Detroit. He's literally playing with Rome Odunze's nuts like it's a vintage Fushigi. So I'm a big fan of Rome Odunze. I liked him a lot last year. Obviously didn't pay off, but no more Keenan Allen in this offense. Better head coach. Much better head coach compared to that fucking dumbass they had last year and for the last couple of years. So Rome Odunze, Joe Mixon, Bo Nix, Quinshon Judkins, who still hasn't signed his contract, and yet people are just taking him in the 7th round. Jared Goff, Matthew Golden Scar, my boy, Caleb Johnson, Jordan Addison Ray, Cooper Kupp, Evan Ingram, Jalen Warren, Kyler Murray, Jacoby Myers, Debo Samuel, Tyrone Tracy, Brian Robinson, Emeka Egbuka, Travis Etienne, and Brandon Aubrey. I hope that news of Chris Godwin potentially returning in week 2 makes people shit themselves and Egbuka starts falling back into like the 9th or the 10th round, but ultimately I don't think that will happen. And we prophesized it, and it came true. We're able to get Njoku here. Njoku and Joe Flacco are a combo like fucking Randy Moss and Tom Brady. Brady to Gronk, Mahomes to Kelsey. Joe Flacco probably has a picture of David Njoku on his nightstand next to a picture of his wife and his kids. He loves David Njoku so much. In 2023, Flacco and Njoku were an absolutely elite combination. Njoku just gets targeted so heavily, and I see no reason as to why Flacco wouldn't go with the safety net. Now, I know everyone really loves this Harold Fannin fella of the Cleveland Browns, a new tight end on the team, and sure, that he might be the guy a year from now, 2 years from now. Maybe they push Njoku to the side. I don't want to play with you anymore. But this season, I think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of David Njoku in this Browns offense. After Njoku, Stephon Diggs, Cam Skattebo, Khalil Shakira, as well as Ricky Bullets, Ricky Rolex, Ricky Pearsall. So the first kicker comes off the board in the 8th round. I just don't ever really get that. This is a team that only has 2 running backs, and their second running back is Joe Mixon, and yet they take Brandon Aubrey. Now, I know you're going to say, Nick, these are a bunch of computers, these are AI, they don't really know anything. And my counter argument to that would be, there are a lot of teams on here that are drafted by a computer where the sleeper computer AI system would draft better than probably in your home league, right? Unless you're playing with a bunch of geniuses, right? In your home league, there's probably 1 or 2 people that you can just think of in your head right now that are just dumb as fuck. They don't know anything about fantasy football, or they think they do, and they have no idea how to draft. That happens in your home leagues, right? It's not just something that happens with computers. People take defenses in the 8th round. They take kickers in the 8th round. To me, it is a huge waste, especially if you're in a spot like team number 4, where your RB2 is not playing for the first 4 games of the season, and based on reports, may not even end up playing at all. So we're back up on the clock here. We got David Njoku, so we don't need another tight end. At quarterback, the pick would be Brock Purdy, who I'm a big fan of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams have a quarterback. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's correct. 10. 10 teams do not, or 10 teams do have a quarterback, just me, and team number 6 do not have a tight end. I thought I was doing the math wrong. I thought I skipped one of the teams, and everyone had one besides me. Now, if I know anything about fantasy football, I know that people love wrapping 70,000 condoms around their team. They love taking the safest approach possible, right? They're making sure they triple knot their shoes before they hop in an escalator because they remember seeing a video where someone's shoelace got stuck in the escalator and their foot got absolutely mangled, right? They are wearing a full fucking armored padded vest. They're wearing a knight's costume like it's the Knight's Tale. That's a great movie, by the way, if you've never seen it, with Heath Ledger, R.I.P. But they're wearing that to go ride their bike, right? They're doing everything as safe as possible. They take a backup quarterback before you even take yours because, oh my God, I have Jalen Hurts. But what happens when Jalen Hurts is on bye in week fucking 9? What am I ever going to do? There's definitely not a waiver wire where I could pick someone else up, right? They just keep things as safe as possible. Now, if you're in like a 14-team league, go right ahead and draft a backup quarterback. But in a 12-team, 10-team league, especially like an 8 or 10-team league, you simply just do not have to do it, especially if you're drafting an upper echelon guy. Now, if you draft Justin Fields and you're like, holy fuck, I don't know about starting Justin Fields every week. Maybe I need a backup. Then I'm fine doing it, right? Or, hey, I drafted Tucker Kraft. I don't necessarily love Tucker Kraft. Or I drafted Kyle Pitts. Maybe I need a second tight end option, right? I fully understand that, right? But those guys, I don't get it. But see, I'm going to just play the guessing game. I think this team's going to draft a quarterback. Hopefully no one else does, but I know it is possible. But there's quarterbacks I like later, so I am fine waiting. We're going to go wide receiver here. If your league has an IR spot, at some point, a guy like Jawan Jennings or Chris Godwin is worth picking, but not in this range to me. I haven't really been taking Josh Downs as much, but realistically, the projection for Josh Downs should be better with Daniel Jones compared to Anthony Richardson. No offense, that is gross, and he has been banged up, so that is something to note. But as long as he's good to go, I'm fine having him on my bench. Again, he's not a guy that you have to start in week number 1 up against the Dolphins, but that's a good matchup for him because the Dolphins cornerbacks absolutely suck dick. As a Dolphins fan, I know that is the biggest weak point in our roster outside of kicker right now because Jason Sanders got hurt, so don't draft Jason Sanders. After we drafted Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, Philadelphia Eagles defense, Chris Godwin, Colston Loveland, Jaden Riley-Reed, the Baltimore Ravens, Juwan Jennings. Then we see the Denver Broncos, J.K. Dobbins, Jordan, the numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Bates, Kincaid, Javonte Williams, Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy, Kyle Pitts, Zach Charbonnet, and Dak Prescott. So we just got absolutely face-fucked at the quarterback position, but that's fine. We're going to go with Draco May here. I like his rushing upside in New England, and I like the fact that they brought in Diggs. After Drake May, the Steelers, Keon Coleman, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, and Tucker Kraft. Now, I'm fine just drafting one quarterback, frankly, and rocking with it, but because we waited so long, we weren't able to get Dak or Brock Purdy, this may end up being a team where we draft a second quarterback, even though I don't love doing that. We're back up on the clock here, and to me, it's Tank Bigsby. We really just have no idea week 1 what the game plan is at running back. Could be a 3-headed backfield with Tootin, with Bigsby, with ETN. It could be the ETN and Bigsby show, where it's just 2 of them. It could be strictly Bigsby, strictly ETN, and the other guy is just kind of watching from the sideline. We will see what happens, but in the 11th round, you want to be taking upside, right? You don't need to just wrap 42 condoms around your team, take the safest bet. I could have taken Bill there as well, but again, at this point in the offseason, I don't think Bill is coming off the board in the 11th or 12th round. I think Bill's going in like the 10th round, latest. 9th, 10th round is where he's going to go, so I'm just not going to take him because I just don't think it's very possible. So after Tank Bigsby, Jaden Higgins, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Michael Pittman, Janu Smith, Cameron Dicker the kicker, Chris Boswell, Ramondre Stevenson, the Detroit Lions. Then we see Jake Ferguson, Austin Eckler, the fucking Mr. Clean looking guy, Buffalo Bills, Rashid Shaheed, the cold like Minnesota Vikings, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, and Jaden Bonnie Blue. So we're back up on the clock here, and to me, we're going to be drafting another running back and then probably take a quarterback. Now, Najee Harris avoids the NFI list, right? He was at practice yesterday with one eye. Yeah, those 2 eyes, it's a joke. Hopefully no one takes this shit too seriously, like I'm actually making fun of the guy. It's just like, you know, having fun for the video. I hope his eye is okay, genuinely. I don't want anyone in the NFL to get hurt. If it was my perfect world, if I was the fantasy gods, no one would get hurt in fantasy football. I like Najee Harris. He seems like a nice guy, genuinely, from everything that I've seen, but I don't think him returning to practice means that he's going to be stealing away the workload of Omarion Hampton, which a lot of people are going to shit their pants and panic about. I'm not panicking about that. At this point, it's fine if you wanted to take him as like a handcuff, but I don't really think he's going to have very much standalone value unless Omarion Hampton was to get hurt. So we're going to go ahead and take Ollie Gordon this time. Typically, we'd take like Braylon Allen, but Devon Achane is banged up going into the season. He's good to go for week 1, but there is a chance of re-injury, right? When you're coming in from the injury, there's an increased chance of re-injury. Again, I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, but I've learned this over the years of playing fantasy football. Once you come back for an injury, it's more likely that you get hurt again. It's not a guarantee. Wouldn't bet my life that he gets hurt again, and I sure hope he doesn't, because I have a lot of Devon Achane, but Ollie Gordon looks pretty good in preseason. Again, preseason has been a liar in the past, so I'm not saying it's a lock that he gets some serious time, but it's not like Devon Achane's a workhorse running back, in my opinion, and Ollie Gordon could see some goal line touches, so I think he's a fine addition with big upside if something was to happen to Devon Achane. And we're just going to draft a second quarterback here, and we're going to take Justin Fields. We're going to get 2 AFC East quarterbacks here, and Justin Fields weekly has huge upside. He popped off a bunch of games last year in Pittsburgh. Obviously, he is far from a safe asset, and even when you do start him, you kind of feel a pit in your stomach when you roll him out there to be the QB1 on your team, but he does produce in fantasy, and he does have Garrett Wilson, so I think Justin Fields, he's going to run a lot. He's going to be a good fantasy quarterback, even if it does feel very gross when you do end up deciding to play him. And based upon week 1 matchups, that's how I would decide who's playing Drake May versus Justin Fields. Drake May is going up against the Raiders, and Justin Fields is going up against the Steelers. So I probably would lean with Drake May, if I'm being honest with you, because I think Justin Fields might have TJ Watt fucking smack him around a bunch of times. And it's a Justin Fields revenge game. It's an Aaron Rodgers revenge game. Very interesting narrative. Almost like the NFL knew that Aaron Rodgers was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. So we're back up on the clock here. Now we got to go defense and kicker. First, we're going to go ahead and get our kicker, and we're going to get Tyler Bass Pro Shops, and then we're going to go with our defense. For defense, you don't want to be drafting, hey, who's the best defense that you think is available still? Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Seahawks? Is it the Packers, the Patriots? Whatever defense you like the most, the Dallas Cowboys, baby. How about them Cowboys? They're going to be so great this season. You want to draft based upon week 1 matchup. The Chiefs week 1, they're going up against the Chargers, and that's not a great spot for the Chiefs defense, right? The Cardinals, though, they go up against the Saints. That's a great pick. The Rams, they go up against the Houston Texans O-line. That's a great matchup. So since we normally take Houston, and if I was drafting multiple different teams, I wouldn't want them necessarily, or not Houston. Houston's good defense, too. You take the Rams all the time up against Houston because I really do like that spot. But this time we'll go with the Cardinals because I think the Rams are going to be great week 1 against Houston. But, CJ Stroud, he could just go crazy. He might not get sacked as much as I think he will. He might not make as many foolish decisions. So we'll just stream up against the Saints. And the Saints are just kind of a disaster. They're kind of just a joke at this point. And I think the Cardinals have a fine enough defense to put up some solid fantasy production up against them. So our team is complete. We drafted. Our team is going to be Drake May, Saquon Barkley, Chase Brown, Ladd McConkey, Devontae Adams, David Njoku, Cortland Sutton, Tony Pollard, Tyler Bass, and the Arizona Cardinals defense. Our bench is comprised of Rome Odunze, Josh Downs, Tank Bigsby, Ollie Gordon, and Justin Fields. So let me know down below what you thought about our draft. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video if it helped you. Check out one of the videos on screen if you haven't seen it already. Make sure you guys do check out the Patreon. Link in the video description, $12.50. Get my half PPR and full PPR rankings and cheat sheet. I love you long time. Have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.